Hello guys, I am Nick,
Hi, I'm John Elford.
and today we are here at Somerton Lodge. What have we got then, John?
Today we're going to talk in our podcast, starting with this opener, Nick, that you often talk about, which is called Unleaded Vodka. Okay?
Yes, okay.
So imagine pulling up to the petrol station, pouring vodka into your car. How long before the engine blows?
Disturbingly, it will probably run for a while.
The thing is, it'll run for a while pretty damned rough, and then potentially it'll explode.
And now, why is this?
Because vodka, which is basically ethanol, is
It's the same thing we run our race cars on.
Yeah,
Basically.
yeah. Rocket fuel, yeah, engine fuel, ethanol. And the reason why we're talking about this today, we put it in our brains.
It's no wonder we malfunction slightly.
Yeah. So now I'm looking at my crib sheet to remind me of things. Yeah. There's a sentence here. We put ethanol in our brains and then we wonder why we break down.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, we know that alcohol's a type of fuel. We know that on a Friday night, we load up on it and we get supercharged. And then Sunday morning, we're misfiring.
Yeah, in a major way. It's a fuel that we've been using in the wrong way. I think what you said there was very interesting about a Friday night, had a really hard week, and you get to Friday night, and I just want to escape from all those stresses and tensions that the working week brings. And for want of a better word, Unleaded Vodka has provided a kind of very part-time solace from the stresses and strains of real life. And I'm going to hone in on the word part-time because it's a very temporary pause, is it not?
Yeah. We chase that calm and that confidence and that escape, like you just said, when we drink, not just vodka, any alcohol. Trouble is, it doesn't last.
No, it's a very short-term fix. And we find that, like you said, everything comes with a consequence. We indulge in it. Alcohol has this ability to facilitate fantasy. So on a Friday night, you used to meet up with the boys. We tend not to talk about work. We talk about going off to be I want to be a superstar DJ. One of those things, and we drift off into this place. And it's fundamentally because alcohol kind of alters your moral compass. You find yourself shifting and thinking in different ways, but without you actually noticing at the time.
Yeah, and we'll talk about more of that on some of our later poddy sessions. One of the things, and we'll focus on this again more in detail, but alcohol hijacks things like dopamine and cortisol, turning reward into repetition. Yeah. And we end up in this cycle of drink, regret, repeat.
Yeah, it's very interesting you mentioned cortisol, John, because this is one of the things that is hidden. Very few people understand that when we put unleaded petrol into our systems, now our adrenal glands, which sit above our kidneys, and they're governed by actually the pituitary gland at the top of your brain, goes bananas.
Yeah.
What happens?
Yeah. Initially, we produce cortisol because it helps us deal with stress and anxiety short term. It gives us a bit of oomph.
Yeah.
But when we add alcohol to that, we actually stretch the amount of time and the levels of cortisol in our system that's permanently there, which of course increases stress and anxiety and fear and reduces my ability to focus on a single subject, or I hyper focus and I can't focus on other things. So we end up in this whole mess.
It's a cycle of addiction that people don't realize they're in. So, i.e., all I need to do is have a couple of glasses of wine on a Saturday night. Let's say Monday night. I get to Monday night. Do you ever wonder why we hate Monday so much? We hate Monday so much for a couple of reasons. Yes, we're back at work, but also by then we've been overproducing cortisol in our bodies. And we get to Monday night and we sit down and go, oh my word, what a day. I'm really stressed. I'm going to have a drink. We get to Wednesday, feel the same. So there is a hidden cycle of addiction within people that don't even think they drink very much because it's affecting basically their cortisol levels in their body and how they and how you're viewing life at the time.
Yeah, we'll come back to that in greater detail. So, yeah, we still call it fun, even though we know we're going to have some really crappy days afterwards. Okay, just what do you think, Ben, is proper fuel for our brains?
You mentioned the word dopamine earlier, which was very interesting. And I noticed that when I quit drinking, and it took a long time. It took a long time for my brain to get back to normal, for all my pathways to adjust. I get natural dopamine now. I giggle and laugh, and I notice how alcohol was very much a fake dopamine, but the fuel should be your waters and your proper balanced, your vitamins and omega things, all the things your brain requires, zinc and magnesium, all those things. You need a proper balanced diet, but also your fuel doesn't just come from there, does it? It comes from your ability to communicate and interact with one another, which when you have a problem with alcohol, you tend to withdraw and isolate and don't do those things. So I think your fuel comes from lots of different places.
I was just thinking, so you recently did a sunset session at Robin Hill on the Isle of Wight, and myself and my family came along, and of course I'm in long-term recovery, and I had a great time.
Yeah.
Listening to your music, having a laugh,
Yeah.
having a dance and a giggle. I no longer need alcohol to facilitate me doing that.
Yeah.
And there was a really good couple of bonuses. When I got home, I remembered the evening.
Yes.
And when I got up the next day, I was able to give you a phone call. Yeah, I wasn't hungover or anything. Give you a quick call and say, Nick, we had a really great evening. Thanks, mate.
Yeah.
And that was without any drugs or alcohol whatsoever. Yeah.
That's a really interesting point, John. I think it's one of the hardest things to communicate to people who are stuck in a cycle of addiction. Is that if you listen to people who are sober and you notice how they are, and you see this happiness. I can remember walking into a meeting and wondering, why is everyone so bloody happy? I now know. Because I followed the path, I listened, and I got to a place where my brain started to receive natural dopamine as if I'm 8 years old. I don't, unless there's some hardcore drinkers, but I don't remember tucking into vodka at 8. And now I have all my endorphins, my cortisol, my serotonin, my dopamine, all those are where they should be. And I think you said earlier, alcohol's a dirty drug. It's a really dirty drug because it presses on all these different parts of your brain. Do you ever wonder why you wake up at 3 a.m. after you've been drinking?
We are going to have a session on that in a while.
We'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah. So you just made me think that there's 2 takeaways from this, what I've called Chicane recovery snippets. Just this little snippet. Yeah. One is, why the hell are we putting rocket fuel in our brains? Yeah. Or unleaded petrol.
Yeah.
That ethanol. Yeah. And the second thing is, when we're caught in that loop of drugs and alcohol, we are utterly convinced that to go to a gig or something sober is going to be impossible or miserable. And when we get into recovery, we find actually the opposite is real. Life can be really fun and full of laughter and love and joy. And I don't need anything to help that.
But that's interesting what you were saying there about one of the things that helped get me well, and the things that you imparted to me when we were working on my own personal recovery, was how we learn. And all that interesting thing about now we don't need alcohol to have a good time, but a lot of us suffer from the precedent set in our youth, i.e. my nan giving me sherry age 10 at Christmas Day, and so on all those social things that were beaten into us as children and teenagers. So getting your recovery right and understanding is breaking down all those things and all those social concepts that we have about alcohol. And the reason we were talking about unleaded vodka is the portrayal of this thing is utterly manipulated. And
it's interesting because I was just thinking that we've got the multi-billion-pound booze industry that is selling us a horrendous drug that is poisonous.
Yeah.
It's a lie that it's good for us.
It's been perpetuating a lie for a very long time. And I like the word poison. If you turn up at A&E on a Friday night after just how many bottles of vodka, they will refer to it as alcoholic poisoning.
Yeah.
So when we have a little bit, is it just a little bit of
A
poisoning?
little bit of poisoning.
And someone, I remember Uncle Jeff or whoever would say, "What's your poison, Nick?"
Yeah.
And you'd be like, "Hang on a minute."
Yeah, absolutely. So we're sold a lie that this poison is good for us. And I'm going to finish on this, but that lie is so pervasive in our community, in our social circles, particularly anywhere, Western culture. I can't have a wedding without alcohol. I can't have a funeral without alcohol. I can't have a christening. What is that about? We're going to christen a little 6-month-old baby and everyone's going to get pissed.
Yeah, it's
that cultural
well, it's
thing is
incredible.
incredible.
It's obtuse. The infection it is permanent, and it's carried down through the years. And it's a bit like how we talked about earlier. We've found this thing which temporarily puts a pause on this stresses the strains of life, and we've been using it in the wrong way big time. The only place it should be is in your car, but mind you, please don't put vodka in your car.
It might run at first, but like your brain, it will blow up pretty damn quickly.